Spring. I'm Doe. With me is Papa Smithy. Monte Crispo's been deported. No, I'm just kidding. He's just in Japan for the weekend. But we have a great set of matches today, man. It's going to be Samsung. Wait, let me just set the...
Slow it down.
We actually have the undefeated Samsung. Let that sink in for a second after last year. Versus SK Telecom, the reigning world champions, who are not undefeated this season. They lost to Jin Air. So this matchup, which is not one we would have really saw ourselves getting excited about going into the season, is actually going to be kind of interesting today.
I mean, Doe, it feels like a flashback to 2014 when we're talking about undefeated Samsung teams and an SKT team that's made a misstep. Now, of course, it was only one series, one small misstep with their main roster, only lost a single game. But it's really thrown the whole ranking system in Korea into flux because now no one knows who the favorite is in any given best of three.
Well, I mean, and also Samsung performing better than what people would have maybe expected. Their big win against Longju is kind of a shock, but cool to see. Their opponents in week one were pretty easy, honestly. But, you know, this is going to be their greatest test yet, and it's going to be really interesting to see if they can actually pull it off. I still think it's going to be a 2-0 for SKT, but I don't know. You and I were talking about this before, where the even years apparently are not as good for SK Telecom.
I mean, of course, it's a very small sample size, but 2014 was the very small misstep in what has been a history of excellence for SKT.
I mean,
T1.
If you look at SKT's all team, 2013 they won Worlds. 2014 they didn't win Worlds. 2015 they won Worlds. So I think we can pretty definitively say that even-numbered years are not good for SKT.
The trend isn't looking good, Doa.
Yep, that's right. It's a worrying trend. That's exactly what I was thinking too, yeah. But we will see if they can pull it off. I think they probably can. Let's look at our rankings overall. You can see Samsung with those 3 wins. That's +5 for them. SK Telecom way down at 6. They've only played 2 matches, and they are tied 1-1 with Longju, of course, as well. Big chance to move up in the rankings today. And you gotta wonder what's going to happen with the Africa Freaks over the course of the season. They are not playing as well as we may have expected. I think there was a certain amount of hope coming into the season about these guys.
I mean, there was a certain level of hope for Africa, but it was Spenu as well, both of them at the bottom. This is the big top-of-the-table clash. Crazily undefeated Samsung versus an SK Telecom team that want to reignite their season. Started off strong, but man, what a misstep against Jin Air.
Yeah, I think so too. We'll see if they can pull it back around together today. I think they can. And then our second best of 3 is going to be the Africa Freaks versus Jin Air Green Wings. And now you would, again, peg that to be a pretty easy win for Jin Air. And I think it probably will be. But at the same time, everyone's just waiting for the Africa Freaks to just show some kind of life, right?
Absolutely. Africa and Spenu right down the bottom. But let's talk about that one later. So much excitement about our first series.
Oh, I suppose. Well, let's introduce Samsung. There they are. Again, really exciting roster changes over the offseason, adding in Core JJ, adding in Ambition. And Ambition has been interesting because really going from this guy that you heard was difficult to play with on a team, you heard about some attitude issues in the team house, but on Samsung, when you talk to these players, they're like, Ambition is the leader. He is the guy, he's our rock, he is our stability, and he's kind of bringing this team forward. So quite a change for Samsung results-wise, but also a change for Ambition, you know, as a player and his impact on a team, it seems like.
I think it's almost undeniable that Ambition has been a steadying influence on this lineup, specifically in the late game. Samsung, their young group of players last year, they rebuilt roster after losing their whole squad to China. Made good early game moves, but then in the late game, they often looked confused. They often didn't know what their win conditions were. Steadying influence of Ambition with all his experience has been valuable. Also, this man on your screen, Juve, has really stepped it up. He was good. He's always been good in solo queue. He's translating that to competitive play. One thing to note, Stitch, who of course has played so impressively as the first Champions pentakill of the season, out. Core JJ is back in.
I mean, Core JJ looked good in his match earlier, played a splendid Lucian game, so I think they're still kind of testing the roster, but it'll be a big test against this squad right here, your Season 5 World Champions, SK Telecom T1. Some small changes in the offseason for these guys, obviously losing Marin to China and then replacing him with Duke, and so you would argue that maybe they lost a bit of their shot calling, Their coaches said no, everybody kind of shares those duties, but there's some conflicting reports about that. Either way, Duke's at least a mechanically strong addition to the team.
And you mentioned roster tinkering. They led with Blank and Scout, and that was their loss against the Jin Air. Of course, they rotated back in this A lineup they're running today, but no such tinkering today, starting off with, at least on paper, their strongest 5.
And I mean, showing that against a team like Samsung, even though, you know, Samsung's 3-0, there's still, I don't think, the strongest roster. I think they had some very easy matches so far. I think we're going to see those guys move down a little bit. And when it comes SKT, to not pulling any punches.
And when it comes to SKT, even if they were facing EM Fire today, I think it was about setting the tone. It's bringing back the big names, and it's about getting a 2-0 victory.
Definitely. I mean, what would be better than winning back-to-back Worlds, right? You can't do that unless you do well regionally.
Ambition hasn't done well regionally or, of course, on the world stage in a very long time, but his team is on the up.
That's very true.
It's all about trends between these two teams. Samsung trending up, SKT one small misstep. What a story it would be for our season if Samsung was to win this best of 3, because honestly, then anybody's game for for Champion Spring.
Oh, you're absolutely right, man. I mean, a win for Samsung here would blow this entire region wide open as far as who's going to be the top team to watch, you know, who's going to go to those international events. It's going to be interesting. But here's the other thing to kind of consider here is Ambition has had a very, very long career. So how amazing is it that this guy, having been in Champions for so long, is now finding this sort of resurgence on Samsung?
I mean, a change of scenery, the psychological impact that this man has been with his CJ organization, and of course, the previous organizations like the Azubu Blaze before that, for a very long time. So the new situation seems to have only been helpful, at least at this very early stage.
Yeah, she's been around for a long time. Well, it is time, guys, to move into picks and bans for game number 1 between Samsung and SK Telecom. I really did not think this was going to be a matchup to look forward to this season, but here we are. It's exciting, man. Haven't been this excited about that since 2014. There's a Z ban against Faker.
It's definitely a game you looked past back at the group draw a couple of weeks ago, but 2 weeks later, everything we thought we knew about Korean League has kind of been thrown on its head. So Samsung come in this with a really big head of steam.
Yeah, I think the Poppy ban is good for SKT. That pick has started to really pick up some steam this week in Korea. We didn't see it a lot last week in week 1, but I think Korea's kind of discovered the strength of Poppy at this point.
I mean, QV in particular, 2-0 on this champion, was playing it earlier this week, as you mentioned. There's a lot of undefeated champions on Samsung. That's, of course, when you're 6-1, it makes sense. Big picks have been for Crown, the Victor in particular, 4-0, 18.5 KDA. Ambition has been on Rek'Sai duty, 12.3 KDA, 4-0 as well. So those are 2 big picks that have been staples of the Samsung draft.
Yep, the Rise band has been a common one this season as well. Got to see it picked once yesterday, but aside from that, I believe it's just been banned the entire season.
100% picked and banned, 1-1 overall, but very rarely sin on the Rift is the Rise.
Yeah, another ban targeted at Faker there with that LeBlanc, but again, you know, it is still arguably his best champion despite that famous loss at MSI early last year.
It feels like Samsung's really steadying for the Victor mid lane pick. You're dealing with some of the matchups that can be troubling for Victor. Blind pick Victor has been the story of so many successful teams. KT Rolster doing a lot at the start of the season. Doesn't necessarily have to be the first pick of the draft, but Rek'Sai and Victor, I think, will both be heavily contested for Samsung.
Yeah, probably. It's interesting to see just how far Misfortune's completely fallen off now that we're in patch 6.1. Just nobody's picking her or banning her. It was just immediate.
I mean, the moment you see literally 90 damage removed from ability, you know that that is some heavy-handed tuning. Corki has been the flex pick du jour of 6.1. It is locked in as our first pick here, so flex pick between Crown and Core JJ.
Corki and his package have been pretty terrifying, man. And that Tom Kench, dude, my favorite moment of the season last night, easily the Smeb versus Arrow duel from yesterday, dude. Tom Kench versus Lucen, that was one of the funniest things I think I've ever seen in League.
Both Monty and I basically dropped the mic. Such was that auto attack damage when the face check came through from Arrow.
I was like having dinner and watching it at home, and I'm like, ah! Like food goes everywhere, but it was great.
So you were Lissandra. You're role-playing Lissandra.
I do that a lot, you know. You should know this by now.
Gosh, you know, I didn't want to talk about it on air, but now it's out there.
The secret's out, you know.
And the secret of the Gangplank, remember, Faker's only game against Jinna was on Gangplank, got bossed around the mid. We've already seen a Corki versus Gangplank matchup go horribly wrong for the Gangplank, as Coco was just free hitting on the Gangplank in that Longzhu versus Jin Air series earlier this week. So, wonder where that Gangplank's going. Could still be a flex pick. We've only really seen Tom Kench top, so it's looking less like a flex pick from SKT.
I think you're right. I think they just picked both of their solo lanes, and we'll see where it ends up. You can always flex both of those.
Sure.
So you do leave Samsung guessing a little bit, but I think it's probably going to be GP mid, Tom Kench top, just from what we've seen so far this season. The Trundle probably support pick for Samsung. I love this pick right now, but we haven't seen it as much as I've expected we would.
When we seen actually very low tanky lineups, we've seen 4 or 5 carry lineups, and of course then suddenly the Trundle ult isn't as desirable for the stat stealing, so I think it's still fabulously strong. Specifically the Pillar is terrain ability that's been slept on for the whole existence, I think, of competitive League of Legends. So
you could theoretically play a 580 carry team if you went with Kennen support.
Don't give people ideas, though. We've already seen 580 carries in a game. That, I think, is the upper maximum before things just get silly.
You know, everyone was complaining about 80 carries last year, man. They just don't have a place anymore. Well, now their place is literally everywhere.
Well, they don't really have a specific home anymore. Their home is everywhere on the map, apparently. They're probably very confused the moment they get on the Rift.
I like it, man. I really enjoy that we're at a point in the game now where we do see those picks moving around between lanes.
And look, we've always seen a little bit of, say, Vayne and Corki top, but now that 80 carries can even jungle, it's crazy that 80 carries are flex picks.
It's awesome. I like it a lot. There's a Victor pick that we were expecting, and Fiora wouldn't be bad. Wouldn't be bad. Might struggle a bit against that Tom Kench, but I don't know. It can certainly mess up the other members of SKT later on. What do you think?
I think the SKT draft in particular has been pretty reckless. If you think about this, they picked both their solo lanes. That's basically confirmed at this point. Very small chance they're going to flex pick top. But they've gone for a fairly reckless draft, and we talked about those undefeated champions, 15 plus KDAs for the likes of Rek'Sai and Victor, and they've just given basically Samsung everything they could have won.
Yeah, I mean, either this is a bit of sloppiness from SKT or it's a statement, you know?
If they win this game, giving them over Rek'Sai and Victor, their comfort picks, that'll say a lot about this. I think, in general, this will set the tone for the night and potentially the season for SKT.
Could be. I mean, that is a ridiculously strong team that Samsung has. Fiora on top, Corki, Trundle, bot lane. Like, it is... It's going to be interesting. What does SKT have to do to win this one, man?
I mean, SKT have excellent scaling. We're talking about a tanky frontliner. Even though there is going to be stealing of stats, Tom Kench will have so much health, so much gray health, they'll still be very tanky. The scaling of Gangplank can't be denied. He is still very close to 100% contested, picked or banned. The big question to me comes, can they actually create enough pressure for Faker to get a more passive laning phase, get to that late game phase, or will they be super pressured by the Samsung lineup? And what does a late game duel between Fiora and Tom Kench look like? Fiora outscales a lot of tanks. Does she outscale the Tom Kench?
I don't know. Tom Kench can deliver some serious damage too, as we've seen. So that's going to be interesting if we get to the late game. One thing I'm going to be looking for, too, is a much better performance out of Bengi than we saw last time in that match against Jin Air. He really struggled against Wing.
And we talked about the 2014 overtones. 2014 Bengi wasn't the best jungler in the world. I would say that he claimed that title last year. Going to need to see some more of that form today.
I think so. Well, he's got a good pick to make that happen. And it is time, guys. Samsung versus SK Telecom, Game 1. Let's do this. Oh, they cut it off again.
We're never going to know what they want to roll, Doa.
Drive me insane this season. Welcome to Summoner's Rift, guys. Samsung versus SKT. A matchup a lot of people would have said, easy 2-0 for SK Telecom, but right now, I'm only 95% sure that's how it's going to happen.
A year ago, Samsung had completed their rebuild. They had no real star names. They were right down the bottom of the table. SKT, they were trending upwards. They were right up there with the, I guess then, GE Tigers.
Yep.
A lot changes in a year, apparently, is Samsung looking good with their current roster.
Yeah, they are. And you know, when they swapped out Bliss for Crown in the mid lane, I think that was a big part of it, too, where we started to see some real improvement. Fury was good, but obviously they ended up losing him over to Longju. But Core JJ and Stitch have seemed like worthy replacements. So overall, you know, we've seen a lot of upgrades for Samsung, not only just in individual improvement, but roster changes as well.
Core JJ, of course, 2 matches out of the limelight. Stitch had played the last 2 best-of-3s for Samsung. Core JJ, very hard done by as, could see a face check.
Wow, Wolf gets caught with that face check, takes a decent amount of damage there. Gotta be careful.
The jungle follow was potentially going to come up, but no lane swaps. We saw so much lane swap play yesterday, but this time they're going to juke it out 2v2.
You know, I feel like this is kind of fitting with SKT's plan in that they just want to show that they're just straight up better. It really feels like SKT just wants to be like, all right, we're going to play these guys straight up in lane. We're going to crush them, and you're going to see that this is still the world champion SKT team.
On some level, they're stacking the deck, right? They're saying, you can have your champions. We want standard lanes. Let's just go at it. There's going to be no asterisk next to this matchup. Who's the better team? We should find out.
It does. This feels like a very Coma kind of draft, doesn't it? Yeah.
I don't know. I think Koma's been so smart with his drafting. His quick level 2 is matched by SKT. But
yeah, but he hates it when people think SKT is doing something bad, man. He takes that really personally, and having him draft a comp like this, basically saying, all right, we're just going to show you that we're the best, you know?
But at the end of the day, let's say they win. Let's say SKT power through, win this game. It's still a poor draft to choose both your solo lanes on the red side in the first round of the draft. So there's only the minimum of flex pick nature about Tahm Kench. We've literally seen maybe one, probably no Tahm Kench supports this season. So picking both champions, that's just poor drafting in my opinion.
Well, it's got to be intentional, right? I mean, it's got to be SKT trying to get in the head of Samsung, isn't it?
Well, it has to be champions they're comfortable with, or what they've been winning with in scrims, or it could be a mind game. But a mind game against the top place Samsung, I don't know.
Top place Samsung, but the win against Longzhu is good, but the other wins were against Afrika and Empire, I believe.
Absolutely. This was definitely the week where Samsung was going to be exposed, right? You saw, okay, Longzhu and SKT, Samsung, good start, but sorry guys, you're done. Yeah. They beat Longzhu, and they looked comfortable doing so. Now, a lot of that was about Longzhu.
Did they, though? Because that was a pretty close best-of-3.
It was close, but at no point was Samsung exposed. I thought they were competitive throughout, I guess, again, a fairly new lineup in Longzhu. I'm not trying to get ahead of myself, but this is a team that deserves not to be trifled with, and a draft like this is perhaps overconfidence from SKT.
Oh, we'll find out pretty quick, I think. Bengi trying to come in for a lane gank. There's no vision for Samsung, so they don't see him enter that brush. Wolf walking in. There's a flash flay onto Core JJ. Tries to anticipate where the Valkyrie goes, but can't quite connect with that death sentence.
JJ must have been super comfortable with sidestepping. Of course, there is a cast animation time with the Valkyrie. Didn't decide to flash. Went for the Valk. If he was caught, he probably would have died, but he gets out of the game.
Yep, made it work out. That's a flash down for Wolf, so that may draw some attention from Ambition a little bit later. See if he decides to do any sort of ganking. Faker doing just fine in lane against his Victor, despite being pokeable, I would say.
Very pokeable. This draft from Samsung's very echoes a lot of what KT Rolls have been doing, and Samsung themselves. It's all about having strong lanes, the likes of Victor just wave clear in mid. Core JJ and Wraith will go 2v2 just fine against Bang and Wolf. And then the Fiora outscale, but with the asterisk of it being Tahm Kench. We haven't seen Fiora versus Tahm Kench. Yeah. And in general, Fiora's outscaling the tanks has been what has allowed these big teams to take the late game as Faker. Takes a lot of damage.
Gets really low, and actually Wraith came up to try to help with this. Faker's chosen a very dangerous place to recall, but it looks like he'll be okay.
Ambition smelling around mid.
Yep. And so Wolf is going to intercept Wraith coming back into lane, but you can't really do a whole lot against that Trundle. Just making sure that he's coming back, I suppose.
Interesting notes about Samsung is that statistically, despite the fact that they are objectively top of the ladder, statistically, they've not actually had the cleanest games. Their average goal difference at 15 minutes actually puts them 6th in the league. That means that 5 other teams in this small sample size have had stronger early game performances. They have the lowest first blood percentage of any team in the league, again, despite being first. The only thing that they really lead the league at is highest wards per minute, and a lot of that has been Wraith. Specifically as Alistair early this weekend was very impressive, and in general, he has been the reliable support, and it's no more Luna. He's the starting support, he's the only one on the roster. He's really stepped up, but the early game has not been the purview of Samsung, so theoretically, Faker should be able to farm pretty happily into that scary late game gangplank phase.
Yep. Yeah, it seems like Ambition's been good for kind of keeping the newer players of Samsung under control in the late game, but against a team like SK Telecom that really has no fear at all about taking it to that stage. I think they might struggle a little bit.
Opting into late with Fiora theoretically outscaling Tahm Kench and Gangplank getting to that scaling level. Both teams have that scaling, so going to be a battle of scaling later on.
Bengi hasn't been spotted yet, it looks like. Oh, he made it into the brush. Okay, wow. Attempt number 2 coming in. It looks like Wraith is going to just try to walk through try. No, I thought he was going to go all the way around. But nope, just throwing the ward, watching for Ambition. Bengi's right there. Nice cocoon. They catch Wraith. Wraith, of course, with no flash. And he's down. He had a flash, actually, but just couldn't escape from that one. And First Blood does end up going over to SKT. Second time's a charm, I guess.
It was just really clean gank. I don't think Wraith and CoreJJ respected that there was ever a vision toggle that Bengi could walk through.
I guess so.
Surprise out of nowhere. Clean kill for SKT.
Yeah. And you gotta wonder how it would have went if that Death Sentence would have connected on the first gank, you know, getting a flash out of CoreJJ for sure then. So, you know, even that first gank, even though it quote-unquote failed, still kind of gave SKT a lot of info about Samsung and that they're not really respecting that lane gank as much as they should be, and they got punished for it.
Absolutely. Ambition really deep in enemy territory.
Yep.
Actually stole away the red already, despite there being no lane swap, managed to path over and steal the red as a response to the successful gank, so nice map movement.
Yeah, I mean, he knew he could get there faster, so might as well get something done with it.
This is what we've been talking about at Wraith, and look at Samsung's vision in general. They have good vision on both the top and enemy bot side jungles. That's, again, something that they weren't known for last season, but they're really opening up their vision game in 2016.
Yeah, well, those wards in the jungle of SKT right now on the blue side are going to, hopefully for Samsung, keep CoreJJ and Wraith a bit safer from now on. Some pretty deep wards for so early in the game, though. Absolutely.
Well, that's the result of getting that counter jungling on by Ambition, and Wraith just walking out of lane, putting down the vision that we've become accustomed to expect from Wraith.
Yeah.
Didn't mention it during the pregame, but Wraith, of course, is Casper, formerly of SK Telecom many a year ago.
Yep, he filled in when Mandu was taking a break back in, I believe that was 2014, actually, wasn't it?
Yeah, spent a lot of time swapping out with Luna last season, but he is the starting support for Samsung, and so far has really lived up to that title.
I mean, he's been a good support for a long time, and he's never really found a way to shine in the league just yet, aside from that short time on SKT where he played pretty well.
Looked like a big source of their problems, but losing Mandu and some of the shot calling he brought seemed to unsettle the lineup regardless.
Yeah, for sure. Well, if you talk to those guys too, they'll all tell you that they just weren't taking things as seriously as they should have been.
Ah, the pro gamer excuse.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was pretty clear from the play, wasn't it?
To some degree, 2014, not kind to SKT fans.
No, it was not kind to me. That is
true. The premier SKT fan.
I was upset. I was a long-time SKT fan. No bias.
Just the whole year, 2014, so right off the door.
It was an upsetting year. So upsetting.
Ironically, I guess I'd probably identify as a Samsung fan, so.
Wow. Oh, Wolf slowed down by that pillar a little bit, but Bang able to zone out Wraith and CoreJJ with the culling. He's got the lantern. A little bit of shielding there, and CoreJJ takes the worst end of that AD carry trade. Faker's starting to get pushed back in lane pretty hard now, though. And we kind of assumed this is how this lane would go. But a pretty big CS lead for Crown and Faker. Struggling a bit, but again, SKT should expect this, shouldn't they?
Absolutely. You're not playing around any sort of pressure in mid lane for Gangplank. He hasn't been ganked. The fact that he's farming and just, look, he's 20 CS behind, which is a bit larger than he'd want to be, but they're not looking for lane pressure from Faker. So they're just looking to play around other sides of the map. And so far, Bengi's been successful in that. They got the gank off in bot, and if Faker just keeps competitive in mid, Victor doesn't have that much kill pressure, so should be fairly safe farm time for Faker.
Yep. You know, interestingly enough, Victor does have that exhaust this time, so without going for the teleport, he has a little bit more kill pressure than we're used to from some of those mid laners.
Gonna have to be really specific with his lack of cleanse in the late game, though. Doesn't have that summoner spell.
And SKT going for this dragon. Kube takes some damage from Duke, though. Gonna get pushed out of lane. Doesn't get eaten. He'll be fine.
Stunned, though.
Oh. And Bengi trying to zone out Ambition. They've got a ward. They know about it, but they can't stop it. So SKT gets the first dragon. It's a nice little stats boost. Not too bad.
Hard to say how critical that will be. It's a little bit of a later first dragon. We've seen 5th dragon acquired and threatened a lot, but that's usually when we're seeing a 6 to 8 minute dragon. 11 minutes on the later end of first dragon timings.
Yeah. Seems like SKT is just kind of playing this pretty methodically. So if you're a Samsung right now, what's your plan? Do you just want to wait for the late game? Do you just want to sit there and play safe and try to scale? Or
I don't think so. I mean, you have a big power window when Trinity Force is finished for Core JJ on this Corki, so rotating around the Corki and pushing in. Gangplank needs time to set up his wave clear. The wave clear from SKT is decent, but pales in comparison to Samsung. So I think that timing is kind of the go button of get out all those outer turrets, specifically the mid. Crown's already chipping away at it. Trinity Force Corki should be the death knell. This mid turret is Faker.
Whoa. Faker in a lot of trouble, flashes at the last minute to avoid some of the damage from that death ray, I think.
He was calculating. I don't think there was any real threat of death, but
it was close.
He had the oranges, he had his flash. I think he was fine, but again, playing with his destiny pretty aggressively there is up top. Bengi's here.
Speaking of trouble, Kube trying to back away. The tongue misses. Oh, he actually connected with the cocoon. I don't think he was expecting that to hit.
Surprised Bengi as well.
Yeah. Ambition gets a chance to take out the pink ward, which is good for Samsung.
Ambition just wants to play the pressure game around top. Yep. He's down bottom. Not much happening. He's trying to zone Wolf away from the lane.
Yeah, and he's doing a pretty good job too. Awkward situation for the bot lane at the moment. And Duke looks like he'll just TP back up. I mean, with the Dragon out of the way, you don't really need to save the teleport for anything at the moment, do you?
He has a semi-global with the ultimate as well, so fairly maneuverable at all times as Tom can.
Oh, Core JJ really low, and the culling can't quite do it. Wraith with some nice body blocking in the summoner heal, just enough to keep Core JJ alive.
And this is all a snowball of that earlier successful game. 20 CS, and now it's going to be a lot of turret damage. No way for Core JJ to stay in this lane.
Yep.
Main pressure. Lane dominance for SKT bottom.
Yeah, they really have been. Nice 25 CS lead for Bang, and slowly but surely it seems like SK Telecom is starting to get a little bit more and more of an edge every minute or so.
Worth noting that, of course, that 25 CS advantage is cancelled out by Crown's effective 25 CS advantage in mid, so just swapping lane advantages between the two. Big story is going to be, again, Fiora in the late game. She is picked to outscale tanks and just be the crazy split pushing threat, and of course a great team fighter in her own way. Will that actually happening as the time finish?
Well, I'm sure we'll find out. Is he going to take a bite out of Fiora? He is. And that's a good amount of damage. Kube's got that flash, activates a grand challenge. Duke has to pop his shield. Looks like it's just going to be yet another top lane duel where nobody dies.
The one thing that he has in the advantage there is Ambition just stunned up, is that the grand challenge, you're doing percentage health true damage, but of course you can just pop the grey health afterwards, theoretically, and get out. So he does have that relative ability to stop what can be the devastating grand challenge.
Wow, Samsung kind of milling around by the mid lane. I wonder if they wanted to try to dive or something?
Package play.
I guess. He's got the package.
People just don't know how to use the package, though.
Yeah. I think that's pretty common these days.
You need to be strong and assertive with your package use.
Right. Can't be shy.
No.
They want to make a play on Kube here.
Trying to draw out. Riposte.
Kube goes in with the dash. Can he catch him, actually? No, playing it so safe. Kube still, again, has that flash, so it's really hard to lock him down.
Top lane playing around the post cooldown. If he had used it earlier, we would have seen an attempt by Bengi, but no such luck from SKT.
Pretty much.
And they keep chipping away at this turret. It's falling very low.
Yeah.
We've seen mid turrets stay up 30, 35 minutes. Such is the importance of keeping it up for vision purposes, but only so much Gangplank can do unless he gets heavy jungle assistance from Bengi.
Yeah. And even so, he's not like drastically far behind. He's down by, well, he's down by about 30. That is pretty big, but could be worse. Oh, Condu's down. Nice dodge in the death right by Faker. He's going to drop the ultimate too. It's pushing Samsung away from lane. I feel like if Ambition wasn't there, Faker may have actually gone for that one.
It looked like he was looking to try a 1v2, but it was actually with Tahm Kench in range of the ult if there had been an extended fight. So Faker trying to bait in an overcommitment from Samsung.
His scurvy is cured. Congratulations, Faker. No more scurvy for you.
No scurvy. Vitamin C achieved.
Bengi gets out on the Lantern. Only a minute until Dragon, so it's all about that setup now.
Let's talk about timings though, Doa. Trinity Force completed on Corki. Items are starting to come through for Crown and grabbing his Hydra for Cuvée. It feels like Samsung has hit their early power spikes and they are just more superior. You look down the items here, Lucian has the Essence Reaver, but it's more of a building block item when he gets his second item. Faker again.
Faker has to burn that flash again, and he gets taken down. Crown with the 1v1 kill on Faker. Solo
killed by Crown. You talked about what a difference this guy in the roster has made. Faker looks bemused.
He's like, you got me. I haven't seen that face since he was 1v1ing Pawn. Whoa, Bengi nearly becomes a second victim. The Crown in this mid lane gets the turret, gets the kill on Faker.
Samsung
That's a good start.
Going crazy, and what a bad time to give up the kill. Doesn't have teleport, Faker, of course, and 5 seconds till Dragon. And answering Dragon would be really important for Samsung.
Well, SKT's just going to need to give this one up, and they are. The vision's too good. Faker, you know, is just coming up now. Yeah. It's only one Dragon.
Only one, but the first one is the important one, Doa. Firstly, of course, it delays the potential 5th stack to much later in the game, and those 6% stats are always relevant. Honestly, when it comes to Dragons 3 and 4, if one team's monopolized, it's almost as much about denying the first Dragon stack to the enemy than it is about building up a 5 stack, especially in Season 2016.
Yep. Wow, nice ward defense by Wolf. The ambition from delivering that final blow. You know, you don't see Faker die 1v1 very often, do you?
You don't, no.
That's a very exclusive club. Usually it takes like a whole team to gank that guy. Or it takes Faker really overextending. We see both.
We've seen 2 Faker gangplanks in Champions ever, and honestly, I haven't been that convinced about the champion. It's Wraith.
Oh, well, Wraith gets a bit caught. Has to burn that flash to get out. Faker drops his ultimate to try to slow him down. Wolf and Bang chasing, but just without any vision. Oh, Bengi in a lot of trouble. Looks like he'll make it out. Faker defending. There's the exhaust on the Crown. He wants the 1v1. Bengi coming back in again. Needs to watch out for those death rays. So Ambition on the job. There's the exhaust on Faker now. Bengi throws in his spider, and here comes Wolf and Bang to support their mid laner. I think Faker really wanted that 1v1.
Wants to get it back for confidence, if nothing else.
Yep.
SKT much faster to rotate.
Look onto Ambition. Can they blow him up? Not quite.
Easier said than done. Tom Kench was the one top lane tank that I was fairly confident, in theory, could deal with Fiora in the late game. It's starting to look like that, but again, we haven't hit the tipping point of 2-item Fiora. It's the second item where Fiora really hits high gear.
Well, Tom Kench has already done about half damage to this turret, so it's a good start for Duke already. But if you watched him play on Najin last year, you know this guy is a monster in the 1v1.
MVP of Spring just 1 year ago.
Yep.
Regular season, that is, of course. Najin not really achieving much in the postseason.
No, not a lot. Not really anything. But, I mean, whenever Najin won, it was generally because of Duke.
Samsung, they haven't been able to use this Corki power spike. This has been the story of Corki for many years now. Sorcerer's Shoes into the Trinity Force and go around and delete turrets, but because he's lost lane so heavily, we haven't seen Corki be able to rotate to mid. He's still just been pushing up his lane. They have not been able to use Corki as ideally as you'd want to when you pick him early in the draft.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Baron is up now. Not going to have to worry about that for a little while, though.
No pesky Rift Herald. We've actually seen some surprising Rift Herald priority in the early game. We've seen 2-3 Rift Heralds taken pre-20 minutes, but not in this series.
We've seen a weird amount of Rift Herald buffs go to the jungler, too.
Yeah,
That's
get some
strange.
move speed, but no, of course, minion stats.
I guess.
The Rift Herald, again, perplexing. I'm waiting for that tweak to push it over the edge, to make it a must-contest objective, because I feel like every series, there is a varying level of priority on Rift Herald, because no one's really figured out if it's worth the time investment.
Yeah, no one's really figured out a solid strat to use it with, I feel like.
I think it says a lot about the buff's lack of effects on the minions, like the fact that it doesn't mirror Baron so closely that junglers are picking it up instead.
Well, Samsung, a long way from the next Dragon, but already gaining more vision. And I gotta say, it's been a very solid early game for Samsung, hasn't it? Looks like we might have a dive in top lane, though. Bengi coming in. Duke takes a bite out of Cuvée. Cuvée trying to get away. Faker drops his ult to help out. Bengi goes in for the execute, and that's a successful gank for SK Telecom. They're gonna need to run, though.
Well committed.
That's right. Ambition coming in. Wraith, Core JJ there, and Tom Kench just gonna deliver him to safety. That is some That is some sick strats from SKT.
And look how much SKT are getting at the same time. So many members tried to go cut them off and top. They're going to get an answering mid turret as well.
Yeah, Duke low health, but doesn't matter. Got turret. Ambition dueling with Bang and Faker. It's a 2v3, but with that culling, they should be able to push him away a bit. Bang low health. He's got to be careful.
Wolf's back there as well. That was a really, really smart move from SKT. Also heads up play from Duke, knowing just how long that channel was on the Abyssal Voyage, getting away scot-free and getting that extra objective. That's the SKT trading up that we know and love.
Yeah. That's the kind of move they really needed to swing the pendulum back in their favor a little bit. It was even, but now SKT with a slight edge. Oh, Faker may claim the big Raptor.
About 1,000 gold away, just the recipe short of Black Cleaver and Ravenous Hydra from Cuvée. If still he cannot duel...
Oh, Ambition got it with the smite.
Oh, very nice. If he still cannot duel Tahm Kench with these two items, I worry for Samsung's late game split push plan that they've clearly picked around.
Yeah, it's interesting to see this Tahm Kench do so well against the Fiora. It's cool.
On paper, Tahm Kench and Kennen were the two picks I liked into Fiora. Remember, the Fiora was picked into Tahm Kench in this draft.
Yeah, I mean, Tahm Kench has the tankiness, Kennen has the CC, so yeah, both not bad, it seems like. Duke nearly has that top turret down. Looks like Wolf and Bengi are coming into the jungle to try to finish it off. Nope, just kidding, they're not. Just poking in there for the ward. That's it.
In that deep vision, they're going to keep playing around this top side. They don't need vision on the red side jungle of Samsung because they're playing and rotating around Cuvée, delaying him as long as possible.
Yeah, they've sent Bang up there to finish it off, but looks like they may trade bot. No, not enough minions.
And no minion wave for quite a while as well, so you can see Core JJ trying to face tank and do a bit more damage, cut off the minion wave as it comes. Random stat, but Core JJ, 11-0-11, hasn't died in Champions yet.
Wow. I suppose it's only been like 1 or 2 games.
It's only been 2 games for him, but first death.
Still
not
impressive.
Yet.
Still very impressive.
Again, he was very hard done, but he played very well in their first series. Bengi's caught in rotation.
Yeah, that would be fun. Taking the Lantern Express. Wow.
Every time Victor's on the same mini-map, I'm not sure if people are going to be fine.
He's always on the same mini-map, though.
That's true.
Everyone's on the mini-map.
In the macro map, then.
The macro map?
That's what I'm calling it.
All right.
Wave clear wars.
Oh, and Samsung going for the second dragon. Pretty unopposed. What's SKT going to try to get out of this?
Milling around Baron. They're not going to actually try it. Have the damage for that yet. Again, it's a second dragon, so no need to rip your hair out. They've got that all-important first stack, so no surprise to see the second one. They just weren't in position. Wolf was on the top side of the map. No reason to overforce for a second dragon. Other teams, please take note. Second dragon buff, not a big deal.
So, you know, as we move into the late game, it's kind of like Ambition versus SKT, isn't it? Ambition trying to hold together this somewhat rookie lineup.
As long as Samsung can establish a win condition, they can be fine. Just think back to Longzhu versus Samsung Game 2, where Longzhu were way ahead, and the only thing Samsung had going for them was the fact that they had stronger team fight, and they managed to monopolize the Dragon to some extent. Honestly, it was crazy how little map pressure they had, but they still kept the Dragons up, and if they can do that here, fifth Dragon win condition, look, it doesn't sound like a 2016 thing, but Samsung have shown different, and there have been multiple teams this season already that have been taking games late and winning despite all the changes in 2016.
Pretty much.
Opting into a late game against Gangplank though, already 2 items. Scary proposition.
It is, and SKT has been solid in the late game for a very long time. Oh, Faker though. Faker just cannot 1v1 Crown right now.
Nope. He doesn't have a Hex Drinker. He's certainly not building for the lane matchup. If he wanted insurance, a Hex Drinker early would have been the purchase. Core JJ.
Yeah, Bang finds Core JJ and finds an easy 1v1 in that top lane too.
With that second item, remember, we haven't seen the Trinity Force rotations we were expecting from the Corki. Once he gets S3 and of course the extra cooldown reduction granted by the secondary attack speed crit item, Bang's looking pretty damn good in the 1v1.
Samsung really didn't need Core JJ to die there, did they?
Nope.
Oh, Core JJ, his first death of the season.
Doesn't give them any Baron or objective pressure. Everyone that tries to clear waves against Crown is getting super punished.
Yeah.
But these are the 2 items. Cuvée, Swiftness Boots into Black Cleaver and Ravenous Hydra. Can he now duel against Duke? That's the question I pose to this Fiora versus Tahm Kench matchup.
Well, Duke's got a lot of armor. He also does have a bit of damage with that Sunfire Cape, just for anyone who stands near him. Oh, speaking of duels, here we go. Duke, Grand Challenge activated on him. The Grand Challenge wins. Kube actually winning that duel handily, and he may get a kill here. Oh, health regenning. Kube takes a lot of damage. Duke still hasn't popped his gray health, though.
Duke is so steadfast at holding onto that cooldown. He knows exactly how much health is out. I mean, look at those bars. He's certainly very tanky. He still had 600 in reserve, despite being very low on the health total. The answer is, you cannot push out of the lane a Tahm Kench, even if you pop ultimate on Fiora.
So do we call that a one duel for Kube?
It definitely bodes well for SKT, though. The fact that he can't be pushed out of lane.
They do some pressure in the mid lane right now. And now it feels like Samsung has kind of moved on to the defensive.
They're very comfortable on the defensive again. 6 in the lead for CS difference at 10. They play from behind very frequently. They just look for something to keep them in it. And that in this game is strong wave clear, a decent, if not dominant, 1v1 matchup in the side lanes late, and dragon control. They need to keep monopolizing the dragon, because the map pressure has been almost one-sided to the advantage of SKT from about the last 10 minutes.
Oh, Faker on the run. There's a lantern, but there's no chance of him getting to it. And what a gank from Samsung. Wow, it's the get Faker game. Wow, Ambition gets caught with that death sentence, makes it out. Right, taking a turret shot, but gets a nice traffic pylon down. Oh, Wraith grabbed again. Trundle low, has to burn that flash to get out of the box. Bang gets a lot of damage in on Ambition. Meanwhile, Kube takes that top turret though.
Really
Samsung
good.
Still looking good.
Really good pressure play from Samsung, and again, I remain to be convinced by the gangplank from Faker. 2 games in a row, lost the first one, and in general, this guy is so great when he has lane dominance. In fact, sometimes in counter matchups, he finds lane dominance. Not the story with his gangplank though.
Oh, Bengi thought they had an option with Crown caught under turret, but Bengi the one ending up nearly dying there instead. Dragging up in 1:30, and SKT in another position where they just really can't lose anybody right now.
Just, again, picking lane dominance for Faker yields so many results. This guy is so known for winning lane and then using champions like Victor to get around and impact other lanes. And okay, on a simple fact, you can ult other lanes with the gangplank, but the lane dominance is not there. And he has looked weak in laning phase both times on this gangplank.
Yeah, I don't really know if this is going to be the best pick for him. Doesn't seem like it. Constable Trundle is the only Trundle skin in my opinion.
I agree.
It is. The long arms of the law, because he's a troll, so he's got like extra long arms. Does he get it?
A troll policeman in general is already tremendous, though.
I suppose. Well, we're at a bit of a standstill until the dragon comes up. But SKT the one facing the most pressure at the moment.
Samsung can set up pink wards around objectives, specifically the dragons, since that's what they seem to be focusing on. Look at the build, specifically from Core JJ. Second item, Infinity Edge, means it's all about chancing for the Trinity Force proc into an IE crit, i.e. burst damage.
Yep.
We've already seen how much Victor can burst. You face check a bush, if you're Gangplank, if you're Bang, if you're Wolf, anyone other than basically Duke, you will die instantly and it'll be a free objective. So pink wards, and in general ward supremacy, is what Samsung need to keep capitalizing on this objective snowball they've tried to establish in the first 30 minutes.
Pretty much. It's dragon time.
Dragon time.
Faker's there. SKT has position on it. Have they caught Ambition? They need to be kind of careful. Thunderlord's proc takes a chunk out of Faker. TP coming in for Samsung. Looks like it was actually canceled.
Both teams canceling.
Kube, yeah, Duke opting not to come down, but he's got null, so he can at least get partially there. No, but it's a duel up in top lane. Duke may be doing a little bit better on this one, but the ult still has yet to be activated by Kube. There it is now. Grand challenge, and Duke waiting. There's the challenge activated. Big heal for Kube. Duke turns it around. Where's that gray health? Still hasn't activated it. Might need to do it now. He's waiting so long. Kube gets him. Duke, no chance.
That was an amazing duel. He actually reposted the W, stunned him up and killed him during the duration, even though Bang clears it up. What a duel by Kube.
Yeah, Duke held on to that E a little bit too long, and that's going to cost SK Telecom a dragon when it's all said and done.
Something
Duke
that we've
a little bit too cocky in the top lane.
It's something that we've seen growing this week, though, is that CC is being held for Tahm Kench when he falls low, popped, and then killing him during the CC duration before he can pop. The implied tankiness of the Grey Health. Held onto the riposte. What a riposte from Cuvée. This guy, obviously mechanically talented, so frequently in the top 10 of solo queue, starting to translate that into competitive play.
Yeah, and if there's one thing that solo queue is going to help you do really well, it's duels. So he knew exactly what he needed to do to take out Duke.
Just hyped to see that. Hyped to see players like Cuvée, young players, take the next step.
Yeah.
Duke's going to have to reassess and be a little bit less cocky with his use on the Grey Health later.
Yeah. Yeah, he held that for so long. I know you want to get the most out of it, Duke, but you also want to live.
Obviously, the thing about Grey Health is that if you can back away and having not popped it, you're going to get your maximum health back. You're going to get effective healing from the Grey Health if you don't pop the shield, which dissipates that heal. So I can understand his theory, but in these all-in duels, when flash is up from Cuvée, etc., I think you have to be slightly more defensive.
Well, especially after Grand Challenge goes off and Fiora gets that heal too. I feel like you need to do something. He was down to like a 10th health and he still hadn't used it. Then after that W got reposted, like you said, it's just too late. So now what does SKT do? They're down in Dragons 3-1. Even on turrets though. They've still got even gold at least with Samsung.
Look at this. The healing is actually going to be exemplified. It's the Spirit Visage. Ambition takes a lot of damage.
Oh, yep, they grab with the Death Sentence too. Man, the pillar from Trundle is just so useful as a disengage tool. It's just one of the greatest abilities in the game, not only for disengage, but funneling a team through a smaller choke, for pushing people away, for trapping someone. There's so much you can do with it.
Again, it echoes. Oh,
Brown takes some damage. Wow, Faker gets him with the ultimate. They're going in. SKT, this is the team fight they were looking for. They managed to take out Core JJ as well, and now Duke has Wraith right where he wants him, and you cannot, for a second, let your guard down against SK Telecom. We've seen them do it for years, and we're seeing it again today. They will take everything from you.
And out of nowhere, Faker turns it on. Crown far too aggressive with his positioning. He was so used to bossing around Faker in the laning phase that he disregarded the grouping phase, got burst down, and look what the price is for Crown's overextension.
How many times have we seen this from SK Telecom?
This game could end here.
I think it could actually. They're going for it. They've got the tankiness with Tahm Kench. They may actually try to do it. Only Cuvée and Ambition yet to do it. And is it actually going to end here? Grand Challenge activated. It's a long time. Wraith is coming back up now. Ambition so low he can't help out. SKT, have they overextended? Bang really low. And SKT going to need to back off of this one. They had an opportunity to end it, but Cuvée denying that one. Wraith coming up as well just in time.
Not done.
Uh-oh, Cuvée coming from the side. Ambition as well trying to flank. Faker doing some damage. That was a close call for Samsung. And again, like I was saying before, how many times have we seen SKT being kind of quiet in the early game, letting it be an even game, and then bam, they find one team fight, and that is it, man.
And it was so necessary, Doa, because the 4th Dragon was coming around. If they gave that one up away, they were going to have to deal with 5th Dragon multiple times.
I don't know if Samsung can do the Baron here. This seems very risky.
Trying to force it out of SKT. They get the Gangplank hold.
Faker drops his ult right away, that's right. Crown gets caught up by the Cocoon. Cuvée on the side, looks like maybe some miscommunication. SKT not together. Wolf very low, gets saved by Tahm Kench. That's a kill for SKT. Right off the bat, Wolf still alive for the moment. Tahm Kench did get taken down. A kill for Core JJ comes in. SK Telecom on the run now. Bang gonna turn it around, but he can't push people away fast enough for that calling. Cuvée going off now, can he get Bang? Not quite! Bang able to use the turret to get a kill in return. And Samsung, without a minion wave in mid, won't be able to take any turrets off of this.
It was a good catch, but if Cuvée had backed off, they could have turned on to Baron. I guess the call was, go for it, we lost our Dragon, we don't want to risk the Baron, try and get more kills. They couldn't mop up as much as they wanted. They're not even going to get that inner turret, let alone the inhibitor turret in mid. So many fights, we're only going to get a replay of this most recent one. The Grand Challenge goes down early. It looks like it won't be popped at all. The first kill isn't, of course, the Tahm Kench, but when he goes down, they keep going. At this point, because their jungler is dead, they don't feel like they can peel off to Baron, but they don't even get this inner turret. So strategic-wise, or in terms of getting those objectives, advantage SKT by far, popping that inhibitor from their first positive play of the game.
I think SKT got into Samsung's head a little bit there because we saw things get scary for Samsung. They defended well, but then the first thing they do is overcommit in two ways. They try to take a risky Baron, and then they go way too far with the chase. And that is exactly what SKT wants to do to you, man. They want to make you feel uncomfortable, make you overcommit, make mistakes that they can capitalize on.
I'm not actually going to hold the Baron attempt against Samsung, specifically because SKT didn't have time to go spend all the gold they picked up, picking up those turrets, taking that inhibitor. They wanted to force a fight against SKT before they went back and shopped and got their items. They felt they could take it. They won the fight from it. It was just the fact that they had to feel like they had to overextend for those last few fights and not pick up any of the easier objectives. That means that SKT really won that objective trade, hands down.
30 seconds until Baron comes out. SK Telecom really wants to deny that from Samsung because they don't want them to be on the verge of getting that 5th dragon.
4th dragon as well.
That's right. Well, I mean, if they get the 4th, then that will put them in a position to get the 5th.
Absolutely.
Which would be scary. You don't want that.
It's when you get forced to fight every 6 minutes.
Yeah.
Hold out from Lucian.
Like Korea doesn't do that already.
That's fair.
It's Korea, man. Dragon time is fighting time.
For better or for worse?
More often.
For better or for worse, for sure.
Always for better in my book. My book is called Always Fighting, the better way to play League of Legends.
I'll write a forward for that one, Doa.
All right.
Don't get Monty too, he doesn't like fighting.
Yeah, I know. I think he'd just be too critical.
I still have my LPL blood in me, so fighting is still good in my book.
That's what I like about you, Papa Smithy.
Bit more bloodthirst than the average color caster.
That's right. It's a good thing. SKT gets the dragon. And again, you know, Duke, what are you doing, buddy?
He doing?
What are you doing back there?
This is a really big miss, but there's no way for SKT to collapse. It's going to take forever to get there. Duke will certainly die.
Why was Duke back there?
The communication between Duke and his teammates, MVP or no, was a big question. Could you just slot in Duke into this SKT lineup and have it be clean? And the answer is clearly still some communication to work on.
I do not know. I mean, was he maybe doing some warding? It's tough to say.
Well, put it this way. You can't really double misclick an R. Like, he really wanted to go on this voyage. Just like the Magical Journey, he wanted to go deep into enemy lines, but no one was backing him up at all. His teammates on the minimap were all backing away. No one had the same mindset as Duke.
Yeah. He just got really inspired by seeing what Smeb did yesterday. And he's like, I can do that too, but no, you can't, Duke. Not right now. Faker picking up the rapid fire cannon, it looks like. I believe.
That's the Asterix
gauge.
gauge.
Oh, no, you're right. My bad.
Bit more inherent tankiness means his Trinity Force proc is going to hit that much harder.
I was actually looking at one of Gangplank's abilities that the Observer was pointing out.
Oh,
It looks like the rapid fire cannon. Look at that. And then look at rapid fire cannon.
I cannot deny, Doa.
It's very similar. Observer trolled me.
Thanks, Observer. Was it Makuza?
Probably.
What a troll.
Yeah. Our main observer is the former Najin player / coach Makuza.
His mechanics looking pretty good on that Kindred vs. Bots 1v5 pregame.
Yeah, man. Those bot game mechanics.
That's what Korean pros do when they retire. They observe games and they play against bots.
That's right.
1v5 though, no backup for Makuza.
It sounds relaxing. SKT going for a Baron now, or at least trying to set up something. They find Samsung, push them away with the culling for the moment. There are still some wards to worry about. They don't really have a way to clear those at the moment.
This was the time of the game where Longzhu kind of fell apart, you'll remember, just a couple of days ago. Samsung's late game shot calling has been very solid, and this game is very close. The kill score slightly in the advantage of SKT, but 2,000 goals at 40 minutes. Again, almost a wash between these two teams.
Well, yeah, it's just one of those games where it's going to come down to whoever has a big team fight win will win the game, you know?
I mean, it could just be whoever missed positions. Crown almost lost this game single-handedly overextending for poke damage on Faker, which of course had been so successful for him previous to that phase of the game. We've seen other games where Crown gets a pick on Victor and wins the game because around 40 minutes, death time is 50+ seconds. One mistake and this game is over.
Yeah, it really could be for either of these teams. Interesting to see SKT in this position to begin with.
Samsung have improved, whatever the case, whatever the result right here.
You know, we see Ambition get hooked there, and one of the problems CJ had throughout was Ambition getting caught in really important late game situations. So even though we're not looking at CJ here, we're still looking at Ambition needing to be a little bit careful about being caught out.
Package is available for Corki, but of course can't let off the pressure mid and back away. No Dragon available for a while. Cuve's pushing up, but whether he can actually take out this turret in front of Tom Kench, that's the part where he's finding it a little bit tricky.
Doesn't look like he can. Might take a little while.
All the blue trinkets on cooldown. Ambition.
Oh, Ambition really putting a lot of priority on getting rid of that ward, which is understandable, but you got to be careful. He would have gotten hit by a cocoon there.
CJ Ambition would have been caught right there.
Yeah, maybe. Well, the thing is he's been dying a lot more on his warding missions because he doesn't have Mad Life to bail him out anymore, you know?
It's true. Thresh is taken away and Mad Life's not in his pocket. Does die a lot with warding. That's the Ambition way.
Yep.
It's backing away now.
And SKT is going to actually go right for Baron.
But look at Crown's damage. He has so much damage. I don't think Crown was in vision, so he should be okay here. They won't be able to finish the Baron.
I was wondering. They started it, but they turned off so fast. I think you're right.
Good defensive pink wards from Samsung. Their pink warding in general has been really on point. And actually, there's no pink wards on the map at all from SKT.
Not at the moment, I guess.
Maybe one, but being obscured by a champion. No, that's shocking to see. Pink wards are so powerful. Pink wards are OP, Doa. It made them cheaper. They're still as powerful as before. There's less green wards. You control vision. You monopolize it with pink wards. It's surprising to see their lack. I guess just back time as a man. And the fact that we're getting towards 6 items, not the space for pink wards.
Yep. Seems that way. Wolf the only one on SK Telecom that has it at the moment.
So tense.
This is a very long, extended Baron dance, but yeah, whoever ends up losing this next fight will lose the game. SKT, they think they've got an opportunity. Teleport coming in, they turn off of that Baron immediately. Samsung keeping a close eye with that ward on what SKT's up to. SK Telecom looking for a chance. So hard to engage when there's a Trundle on the other team, though. Getting funneled into that choke, but no real advantage Samsung can do. They're going to go for this mid-tier 2, it looks like, but SK Telecom's already there.
Trundle can tank
they
it
get
out.
it? He certainly can. I think they're just going to get it.
A lot of damage. Corki Corki was actually with the minion wave, so didn't get any Trinity Force blocks. They back away. Worth noting that, of course, in that Baron Force, both top laners use teleport, so not even a summoner advantage for SKT.
Right. Oh, man. This game is...
It's so tense!
It's on a razor's edge right now, man. I mean, the next tiny mistake that either one of these teams make is probably going to be the end of it.
Worth noting that for SKT to get the most out of their comp, they want to be able to set up those barrels and then have the fight come to them. That's where they're strongest. If Faker's trying to snipe people with barrels, it can be very difficult to proactively place barrels, but reactively, it's almost clockwork taking people out. Faker has a lot of gold. He's ahead of his opponent purely because of all the extra gold from Parlay.
Fiora's down trying to do Dragon by herself, so if they've got Kuve away from the rest of Samsung,
Poor JJ is
Wolf
split.
coming in. He's a little bit far ahead. Ambition gets grabbed. Bengi in the back. They're going to jump on Crown. Faker drops his ultimate. Crown gets away, but he's forced out of the fight. SKT all over him right now. Bengi will go down, but they'll take Crown with him. Crown manages to get that kill right at the end. Wolf has Grand Challenge activated on him. That's not going to be helpful. They're not going to be able to pop that one. SKT has Samsung on the run. They managed to fraction the team up. That's not a real term, but you get what I mean. They split these guys up. Duke comes in. Can he grab Wraith? Wraith flashing away. Duke wants to get close enough to eat him, but it doesn't look like that's going to work out. SKT can back off and take this dragon now.
It's insane that Samsung got an even fight out of that. Core JJ spent about 40% of the fight just not even auto-attacking. He was going in and around terrain. SKT could be assertive. Samsung was on the back foot, and to trade evenly is more than Samsung could ever have hoped for.
Well, they ended up getting a turret out of that too, and I don't know if SKT can get this dragon now. Yeah, they delayed a little bit in the enemy jungle. They had to wait for Bang to go back.
Crown and Bengi are dead.
Still dead, of course, yeah.
Damage advantage to SKT, but no smite means that Dragon is very risky.
Yeah, Ambition's just going to get right up on the Dragon right now. It would be Dragon 4. SKT's going to fight it. Culling used. Ambition pulled in with the death sentence. Faker is here at a half health. Zoning with that ultimate. They burst down the Dragon and take it in the meantime. Dragons are even now. They pull in Wraith. Wolf a bit low. Bang still has a good position on this fight.
They're going to give up Wraith here.
I think they are, yeah. They may give up a lot more than that. Now that SK Telecom has that man advantage, they can just go for this Baron. Wolf, the only one really in a dangerous health level.
Still very risky to attempt Baron with the magic resist debuff against a 6-item Victor.
I suppose.
Victor is massive. Looks like SKT aren't going to risk it or chance it just yet. Still 35 seconds on Wraith's respawn.
Yeah.
And the tense,
wow.
Nothing's dropping off. We're seeing even fights. How Samsung got an even fight where literally Core JJ could do minimal to no damage. says a lot about the power of the rest of their 4 members.
Oh, SKT going for the Baron right now. They just decide to try to rush it. Risky move, Crown coming in. He's got all that damage like you talked about. He's in there, Bengi gets him with the cocoon. SKT finds their chance. They take out Crown, and now they're gonna turn on to Ambition. That is exactly what Samsung could not afford to have happen. Core JJ the next to fall. And Papa Smithy, I gotta say, I think this one is over.
Death timers are so long, a minute on Crown's respawn right here. 2 overextensions from Crown, 1 SKT this game. Samsung, very sound in terms of strategic League of Legends, but a couple mistakes. Communication, I think, at a premium that last fight means that SKT are gonna win game 1.
Yeah, nice hook on Nakube. Wow. Wolf just really putting the exclamation point on the end of this GG. There goes the Nexus turret. Wraith the only one left. They're gonna take him down 2 for the ace. And that is it. That is it. SK Telecom takes game 1.
The end of game 1, but you can certainly tell from how close game 1 was, we've got quite a great series on our hands right here. A couple of positioning mistakes, chiefly from Crown. Adjust that, be a bit more defensive, and perhaps the game could have gone to Samsung.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope Samsung doesn't collapse after a loss like that. It was a very close game, but in the end, the World Championship team, SK Telecom, showing us, why they are the world champions. They were a little bit behind now and then. It was a very close game either way. At the end of the day, they found their opportunities, and like we said in the middle of that game, you cannot give SKT an inch. You cannot make mistakes around these guys, because I think more than anything, SKT is so good at capitalizing on those mistakes.
These 5 men in particular made some missteps. Duke, the new player, with his random abyssal voyage to death, 1v5. Faker, I don't know if Gangplank's the champion for you. I understand denying it in terms of not giving away multiple power picks, but SKT still have to go back to that drawing board to really iron up some of their not trademark mistakes.
I mean, to be fair to Faker, he did have a lot of very good zoning ultimates. I know zoning ult is a joke, but in this case, it really helped. It helped them secure some dragons, helped them splinter the team for a good team fight. So while it wasn't impressive in lane, while we didn't get to see the big flashy plays, I think he made it work from a utility perspective.
Keep it in the back pocket. I don't know about forcing it out there every series.
I agree. I'd like to see him do something different. We'll see if he does. We'll be back in just a few minutes for Samsung versus SKT Game 2 here on OGN Champions Spring. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.